Good day. My name is Scott Picken. I'm the CEO and founder of Wealth Migrate and chairman of the Global Wealth Group. I want to invite you to our webinar, which is happening on Tuesday next week. And it's all about Society 5.0. And I want to just share with you quickly, if I read here, what Society 5.0 is all about. It's a human-centered society that balances economic advancement with the resolution of social problems by a system that highly integrates cyberspace and physical space. Now, why is this important for you? Well, back in 1998, before many of you even had a cell phone, I basically was at university. I studied a BSc in construction management. And funny enough, I found this just yesterday, which is it's not coming through very clearly, but it's my dissertation. And it's a dissertation I wrote in 1998 at UCT. And the title was Information Technology, what is currently being used in the construction industry and what future developments will have on the industry in South Africa, September 1998. I cum laude my degree, and I went on and did my master's in London on exactly the same topic, how technology was going to change the construction and property industry. And what's really interesting is the overarching thesis that came from, idea that came from that thesis was that really if you take cars, a lot can be learned from cars to what's happened in property and construction. So in cars, you had what's called craft production. And that means that they were bespoke and that they built cars individually. So every time a wealthy person came along, they wanted a car, it was like a toy or a hobby that they built them for. And the car companies would build them a car, and it was called craft production. You had a group of people that built a car and it was individualized. Then came Henry Ford, and he decided and designed mass production. And that's why he was able to create the Model T Ford. And ultimately, from about 1910, when the Model T came out, his whole dream was to drop the price and to enable the middle class to be able to own a car. And he used to say that he wants his own factory workers to be able to own a car. Now, by doing that, he completely empowered the middle class. He changed literally the scope of cities because now the middle class has access to cars, not just the really, really wealthy. And what was really interesting is that then we had the First World War, we had the Second World War, and in the 20s and 30s and even the 40s, America dominated production and manufacturing, and it was all about mass production. And it was about having stupid people sitting in a factory just doing one thing at a time, putting a wheel on a car, putting a wheel on a car, putting a wheel on a car. And then in the 60s, the Japanese redefined everything, and they came up with what's called lean production. And lean production is where they take mass production, but if there's a problem, they ultimately go right up the value chain. And so they don't just fix the problem, they go right back to source. And they consistently are getting more and more efficient and improving the process. You've got far more educated and engaged people that are part of the process. It's multifunctional, multidimensional. And, really, we kind of know what happened with Toyota and the Japanese car makers over the last 30, 40 years. Now, what's really interesting is that we're going to a whole new space, which is the tech space. And that's really where Tesla comes in. And, most people don't know this, but the average petrol car has something like between 15 to 30,000 parts, depending on which make you take into account. The average Tesla has 30 parts. 15,000 to 30,000 moving parts. The average Tesla has 30. It's basically a computer on wheels. And so what does this mean to you? Well, if you're in the property industry and or the construction industry and or an investor, you need to understand this progress. Because really, where is property at the moment? If you take that cycle of cars, where is property? It's in craft production. It's only available to the wealthiest people. It is old, it is inefficient as an industry, and it is archaic. And we haven't even gone to mass production. Some of the construction processes have tried to move to mass production. We certainly haven't gone to lean production, and we haven't even embarked on technology. Now, why is this all important? Well, I've been writing papers on this for years. You can click on the link below, which is all about collaborative smart investing and the evolution of production, the evolution of the investors, the evolution of regulation, compliance, and trust, and the revolution of advertising and marketing. Now, on Tuesday night, I'm going to be taking all these concepts and I'm going to be explaining them. I'm also going to be overlaying it with a concept the Japanese came out, which is called Society 5.0. Now, on that basis, we have an entire new future ahead of us. We've gone through the agrarian age. We've gone through the hunter-gatherer age, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we now in society 5.0. And in that space, you've got investor 5.0. What do investors do? You've got entrepreneur 5.0. What do entrepreneurs do? You've got society, which is the overall thing of 5.0. You've also got wealth 5.0. How do you build wealth for you, for your family? So depending on whether you're an investor, whether you're an entrepreneur, or whether you want to build wealth for you and your family, this is not a webinar to miss. And I tell you what, you won't have seen this before, because this is a culmination of more than 2 decades worth of studying on my behalf, trying to understand the best of the East, the best of the West, trying to understand over 100 years of long-term trends as technology and different methodologies have changed industries. And I'm going to give you some very deep insights on where not only the industry is today, but as we move into this digital decade, where it's going. This change is happening with or without you. And the question you've got is, are you going to understand it? Are you going to be able to participate in it? And most importantly, are you going to be able to take advantage of it as we move into this digital decade? See you on the webinar on Tuesday night. If property, real estate, investing, entrepreneurship, or wealth is something of interest to you, then this is not a webinar to miss. Oh, and by the way, for those that are live, I'll be giving access to an e-wealth pack, which has multiple resources that I've gathered over the last 20 years so that you can hyper 10x your progress. I call them life hacks, so that you can access to the best information as quickly as possible. See you Tuesday.